So this is slightly old news at this point, but I think that it speaks to a couple legal situations that are going on right now. And that is the Steven Crowder divorce arc he's going through. For anyone unaware, Steven Crowder is the change my mind guy. I'm sure you've seen that meme. He's a pretty big figure on the right, analogous with like a Ben Shapiro or Jordan Peterson, right? And he went through, announced last week that his wife is divorcing him. And then in that, I think that the most like, I agree. I think that like the most telling part of that is he was complaining about in the state of Texas, it's legal for a woman to divorce a man with, through no fault divorce, which is a giant red flag. And we're going to discuss that in a moment. But then like my favorite part of this clip is when he goes, and I take full responsibility. It's no one's fault but my own that I chose the wrong person. And I have to say, his stand-up career might have some potential because it was hilariously timing. Like I was like, you nailed that delivery. If I was legally part of the Writers Guild writing a character that was an asshole, that's how I would write them. But like the funny thing is the next day, like he made this statement, and then his wife's family released ring doorbell footage. Amazon did something good for us, I guess, where he's just berating her, verbally abusing her, emotionally abusing her, being like, the situation was he wanted her to give the dog medicine. The medicine said it was unsafe for pregnant women. And she was like, I don't want to do this. I'm 8 months pregnant. I don't want to endanger our babies. And he was like, no, just put some gloves on. It's your wifely duty. If you're not going to do your wifely duty and learn responsibility and discipline, then I'm not letting you have the car. And it was like, oh, this is exactly what we thought that this guy was like behind closed doors, and it was revealed to us. And I think there's several different discussion paths we can go on from there, but I think that's again the gist of it. Erica, Desmond, what are your thoughts?
Question. I thought there was something like, I thought he wanted her to go out and use the car to go do chores for him, do her wifely duties. But then he
that phrase just like gives, if that phrase doesn't give you the ick, like just like examine yourself.
No, yeah,
look inward.
so bad. But like, I thought that he was like, no, but I don't want you to take the car because I want to be able to use it to do my own thing in case I go out and hang out with the dudes or something. It was like this really stupid, it just, all these details seem so dumb, but like,
yeah, no, you're right. I watched the video a couple times, and that is what he said.
Oh my God, it's so dumb.
Yeah.
Piece of shit.
I mean, let's also kind of add a little extra context to the story here. Steven Crowder, a few months back, was in negotiations with the Daily Wire in order to be brought onto their network. They were offering him a contract of somewhere like north of like $50 million, something to that effect. So let's also establish the fact that having one car is a choice, because obviously the man has means.
Yeah.
And I would also probably point out, and this is just my assumption, nothing more, don't take it anything beyond that, but I assume that there's only one car for a reason. It's because you like to control people, Steven.
I didn't think of that, but yeah.
Yeah. And then subsequently, Candace Owens, who seems to have an axe to grind with him, made like a 16-minute response video where she put that entire like 3-minute clip in her response video. And so there was
he called out Candace Owens in his video. We haven't said that, so in case anyone was wondering, it's not like Candace Owens just came from the clouds. Like he made this about her.
Right. He did.
I hate to defend Candace Owens, and he's making me.
Oh, God damn it.
But the right-wing infighting was definitely, it's always fun to watch them kind of go at it, just like tearing each other apart. Oh, yeah. It's all around disgusting, obviously, and unfortunately, we're going to probably get into this here in a second. I'm just going to introduce it now. The disgusting part is that not only did we have to watch this just gross, like, property treatment of his wife, where he was basically just talking to her as if like she was like his servant or something to that effect, rather than like his partner in life.
Yeah.
You know, also he's now capitalizing off of this to push this broader narrative about how no fault divorce, you know, basically just needs to be taken away. You need to go back to a time where women had to go into court and prove that they were either like there was infidelity or abuse or something else to the effect to ask the court's permission in order to be granted a divorce. That is the thing he kept hammering home again and again and again in that video, was how it's such a shame that Texas actually allows, you know, people to just get divorced for any reason. It's just like, how deranged is that way of thinking? And what's unfortunate to me is I actually brought this up on Instagram just, you know, within the last couple of days, and had somebody come into my DMs and actually share that stance, share that point of view. A little striking, caught me off guard, to be completely honest with all of you. But now the Republican Party in the state of Texas is adding that to their platform, wanting to dissolve no fault divorce. And so,
Oh my God.
yeah,
I didn't hear that. Fuck me.
The
So-
party of small government and freedom, right?
Yeah.
strikes again. So I made a post about it yesterday where I captioned it that the 2023 Republican nightmare wheel agenda continues. So it just, I don't even know, like, what is the society they're trying to create? Like what exactly is it? Like, is this really making America great again? Like having like women go back to being a time where they had to beg the courts to get out of a divorce. Candace Owens recently floated the idea that the country's only gotten worse since women were given the right to vote. Like I just,
Oh my God. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm actually at a loss of words on this subject. I legitimately am.
So I think that that's go ahead, Erica. Sorry.
I was just a quick thought. You know, I'm just thinking that, like, pair the idea of like women have wifely duties and the idea that women cannot leave their marriages freely. That is basically a recipe for slave labor. You know?
And they can't vote.
And they can't vote. Fuck.
Apparently, according to Candace Owens, she's kind of just floating that idea out there. Like, what? Maybe the country's only got worse since we've been able to vote. I don't know. Let's save the problem.
Damn it.
What is happening? What is happening, you guys? I'm sorry.
I think it's important to separate shock jock takes. Like I think if we held Candace Owen, we gave her the lasso of truth and was like, do you think America's gotten better since women had the right to vote? She would say yes. It used to be, and when I say used to be, I mean up until 1992, there were states in this country where you could legally. Are we cool to say rape on this channel?
Yeah.
Just to pause. Okay. You can
Sexually
legally
assault.
sexually assault. Yeah, like what you could legally do that to your wife up until 1992 in certain states in this country. 1992, like that's insane. And to think that like women having the right to vote wasn't part of that is a crazy take. But I also think that there is a real, like, and I'm not saying correct, but I'm saying like an emotionally viable and real reaction to this from especially from certain men and women who have been stuck in situations like this where it's like, this is how life is. Like they have not emotionally matured enough to like look at that fight and go, oh, like there are so many takes like this is just a fight between a husband and his wife. What's going on here? What's wrong with this? And it's because they haven't been exposed to healthy relationships. They probably had a shitty, you know, mother and father who like didn't have a healthy relationship. They were given a bad example. All of their friends in their conservative bubble have these kinds of unhealthy relationships, and they genuinely don't know that they don't see this and go, this is abuse, this is wrong. And we know that because I spend a lot of time trying to improve myself in my relationship, and that just isn't a value that certain people have been instilled with. And I think it's important to like, not to say they're right, but to say like, okay, there's the Candace Owens shock jock take, and then there's people who genuinely are just down the wrong path that can be reached. And that's kind of one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this specific case, because I do think that there are a lot of otherwise good people who have received terrible, shitty relationship advice their entire life that don't know to look at this and go, yeah, anytime that, you know, you're controlling the movement of your partner, you're being abusive. Anytime that you say this is your duty to serve me as a part of your title in this relationship, that's abusive. I got into this fight where I was just like, no one, because I got in this fight with people on the left, and I said that like you don't owe anyone anything just because you're married to them or in a relationship with them. Like, and they're like, no, I think that you owe your partner respect and kindness at least. And I was like, no, you fucking don't. They earn that. If they aren't doing what it takes to earn your respect, you don't owe it to them. And if you stop respecting your partner because they've done something that you don't respect, get the fuck out. You know, that's the problem with the fault divorce thing, is that people should be able to leave because it's the healthy thing to do, or else that was what creates abuse. Sometimes that's what creates suicide. Having no fault divorce reduced suicide rates among women, reduced fatality rates from homicide among women, and reduced rates of abuse overall. You know, and that's the reason we have it, because when you see these behaviors that you now lose respect for your partner, you should have no obligation to serve them in any way.
I totally agree with that. Go on, Desmond.
Authoritarianism scares me. Just straight up, it just scares me. People who have the authoritarian mindset scare me, not gonna lie. You know, obviously there are certain things that I think that the government should have control over. You know, it's not unless like an all black and all white issue. There's a lot of, this is gray area with everything in politics. But when it comes to two people getting married to each other and all the things that come with it, because obviously you're talking about like you're combining assets and you're combining, you know, just basically everything that you can think of as far as your life is concerned from a legal standpoint, you shouldn't have to convince anyone to allow you to separate. That's my end take with that. You know, if you are honestly in the camp where you think that the state should prevent your spouse from leaving you, I honestly like ask you to go and just like talk to someone about your feelings, because that is not a healthy mindset. That was the best I could pare that down, because I wanted to say something way more harsh just now. So just
Desmond, I want to challenge what you just said, because I agree with you, but I want to challenge what you just said.
Go ahead.
Because we know that single parent households raise children with worse outcomes. And so if we force parents to stay together, that's good for the children, right? Like separating the parents is bad for them. And so forcing them to stay together has some merit to it from a functional level, outside of your own ideology that you think other people shouldn't force things on people. Don't force your ideology on people. Why is it better to not have, why is it better to not force these parents to stay together?
We have seen statistics over the years about just how much abuse happens in certain relationships. Like if someone's seeking a divorce, it is because you determine the fact that you are not compatible with this person for whatever reason. Maybe you figured out over time that you actually got into a relationship for the wrong reasons. They changed, they became someone different. They are abusive in ways that you can't accurately document or bring to the courts. And obviously there's a lot of cases where there's so many women in particular who don't even feel comfortable bringing abuse to the police because the police won't document it correctly or even believe them. And so they have tracked over the years the rates of suicides that have gone down, the rates of domestic violence that have gone down. I grew up in a household with divorced parents. My mom and my dad separated when I was 2 years old, but they lived in relative like proximity to each other. So I got to see both of them very often. It's not ideal for any child to be in a situation where you're in a situation where your parents in one place and other parents in another place. But it's also the reality for a lot of people in our country right now. A lot of us do just fine. I did just fine. I don't think that any justification in the slightest sense of trying to keep people together who don't want to be together, or at least one of them doesn't want to be there, is enough of a reason for the state to jump in and say, no, you have to stay with this person because we know better than you. Absolutely not. There's just no way that I'll ever be convinced that that's actually the moral justification to do so. If two people don't want to be together, they shouldn't be forced to be together. No one is anyone else's property. How is that your take?
Yeah. I mean, I keep thinking about Sharia law and how the right is so fucking up in arms about like, oh, they're going to bring Sharia law to this country and they're already trying to impose it here.
Oh,
like,
I know where you're going.
Fucking fascists who are imposing these laws. They're already doing it. Like this is the direction that they are headed in. But I mean, also I wanted to bring up that like Steven Crowder kind of built his whole persona around the idea that He is a good source of relationship advice, that
Family
he has
values.
this wonderful, wonderful marriage that is, yeah, he can rub in your face and say how good it is and show that this is the model. And now this is all coming apart. So I think, like, kind of like what you were saying, John, this is a topic where we can actually reach some of the folks on the right who, might feel complicated about a lot of these issues we're discussing, but they might also see, like, this person who was supposed to be all about these things, obviously that's completely hollow, and maybe they can start to take away some good messages from that. I don't know.
I think we could talk about this topic for a million years, but like,
Yeah.
I think that there is a strong connection between religious morality, conservatism, and this specific issue, because I
Yeah.
feel like, as being raised in a religious household, you get taught morality, and this is something that, like, conservatives preach all the time. They're like, you need to get your morality from God, or else where does it come from? And that could be a whole philosophical discussion. But like, if you get your morality from like a black and white, I do this, I'm good, I do this, I'm bad perspective. If I go to church on Sundays, I get married, I don't have sex before marriage, I'm going to heaven. If I'm married, I'm better than someone who isn't. If I have kids, I'm better than someone who isn't.
Yeah.
And it's like, in a vacuum, I can agree with you. I think that marriage in general and having kids in general has a lot of benefits that more often than not are good. But if you just check off the box and say, okay, I did it, I'm going to heaven, like that's not enough. Like, you have to dig down, you have to work, you have to build something great. It's not just good enough to get a participation trophy and wear it on your ring finger. Like, it's, I think that these things that, like, conservatives say, like, you like the Sharia law thing, like, what good is your marriage if you're forcing someone to be in it with you? Like, that's not a good marriage. That's that's a fucking participation trophy if I ever fucking saw one. Like, Jesus Christ.
And they just banned those in North Carolina, didn't they?
Oh, did they? Oh
Oh,
God. Oh God.
that's a topic for another day, everyone.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I mean, I just think that, like, if you are, if anyone out here is listening to this right now and going, I disagree, I think this is normal, please DM me and we can talk about it. Like, like, I don't say DM me to yell at me, but like, I'll talk with you about it. Like I think that, especially as men, like, we don't talk about this stuff enough,
Yeah.
and this is the problem. And women talk about these things all the time, and men are afraid to talk about them. Like, we're afraid to say, yeah, like, we'll bash the wife, the ball and chain, but we won't be like, yeah, no, my wife did this really shitty thing and it really hurt me, and I don't know what to do about it. And every time that I talk with her about it, I just end up yelling and screaming, and I don't like that about myself, and I need a way to fix it. And I know that you feel that. I know anyone who has, like, verbally abused their significant other on both sides of the spectrum has that voice inside their head. And I just encourage you to listen to that voice and acknowledge that there's a problem that you can work on, because it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean you're terrible. It doesn't mean you're irredeemable. If Steven Crowder had went out there and said, guys, I have full responsibility for this, I have anger control issues, I have control issues, it's caused a real problem in my marriage, I'd still be like, you were wrong, but I wouldn't be pissed off. That's why it pissed me off so much when he's like, I chose the wrong person. No,
No,
you're
she
never
did.
going to learn and grow and build an actually healthy marriage if that's your perspective.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm a stupid 26-year-old who isn't married, but like, even I fucking know this. Like I'm just like, how have you gone through this whole life of relationships and not learned these basic principles that I've learned the hard way already in my life? Like, it blows my mind. But genuinely, if you have those feelings, if you're like, talk to people, just talk to your friends, talk to your buddies. It will help you immensely in your own relationship and your life.
It will help you combat some of the ideological tenets that you've absorbed from people like Steven Crowder.